How is the rental market in Yakima right now? I guess that's the question I just asked like right before we were meeting today.
Yeah, so the rental market's really strong right now, but it also means that there's really low vacancy. So trying to find a rental, especially a quality rental, is really difficult in Yakima. So if you are in the market for a rental and you find something you like, you definitely need to act fast. Otherwise, you're not gonna have a good option.
So if someone does thinking about renting a home, maybe it wouldn't be a bad time to consider.
It wouldn't be a bad time to consider. However, obviously, people really don't like moving during the holidays and when school started. So it's ideal, and you're gonna get top market if you rent in spring, summer.
Okay.
So this time of year, if someone comes to me, I'd be like, we can definitely fill your home. We can get it rented. However, there's less people moving, and we're gonna wanna make sure that you're on a shortened lease term, not a year lease, because it's not best to have your lease expiring in October,
because
November,
if you do a year lease, you're going to have the same problem every year.
You're going to have the same problem every year. So you want to correct it.
Do a 6-month lease for their first one.
Yes.
Even if you re-sign in 12 with that same person, do it as 6 and then do 12.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, because I get clients all the time that say, hey, well, maybe I'll buy my house and keep this one as a rental. Do you have any thoughts on how to advise those people? Absolutely.
So that's a great opportunity for someone to be able to build personal wealth. But there's a few things you definitely want to take into consideration if you're going to go that way. So the first thing I always say is, are you emotionally attached to this home? Because if you're emotionally attached to the orange shag carpet that your grandma put in however many years ago, and then that needs to be replaced or a tenant does damage, if it's going to cause you emotional distress, don't do it.
Just sell it.
Just sell it, because someone else is going to be living in your home, and they're not going to treat it exactly like you treat it.
Okay.
And it's going to be emotionally exhausting for you.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So for the people too, because I always get people that, watch 3 YouTube videos and now they know that they're ready to be a landlord. What are things that maybe they should be made aware of for someone that says, hey, I do want to start building my wealth this way?
Definitely. So a lot of people don't realize that once you become a landlord, it doesn't matter how much or how little training you have, you still are held to the like RCWs and the legal guidelines.
Okay.
So people think like, oh, I'm going to do it myself because I kind of know there's this fair housing thing out there, but I want to be able to pick my tenant, or I want to, and that just is a really slippery slope, because you still are held to the same standard as like a property manager or a realtor would be if they're the ones that are serving you in that capacity.
Okay, so just being aware of what the laws are, the rules, because it might be a little more tricky.
It's a lot more tricky, and then legislation is continuing to change all the time around landlord-tenant law, and so it's really important that like your lease documents continually updated. There are tons of time regulations. So for instance, now in Washington State, you are required, if you have a termed lease, you're required to notify your tenant 60 days before your lease is up, that their lease is terminate or coming to an end. But what's interesting about that is there's implications if you don't do that. But a lot of landlords think, oh, no big deal, you've got a lease, you know it expires in June, whatever, but there's things that you are required to do prior to that lease expiration.
Oh, so it could expire in June, and you maybe have wanted them out, but you didn't give them 60 days notice.
Correct.
So now you're stuck with them maybe 60 more days or some other.
There's all sorts of laws that are changing. So just making sure that you are connected to a good property manager or to the Rental Housing Association, the Yakima Landlord Association, so that you can be up to date on what's going on.
Well, I had to do my first eviction.
Oh, how'd that go?
It was horrible. It took, I got permission to evict them because of COVID in October.
Okay.
And I think I got them out at the end of March.
That was actually pretty fast considering COVID.
And the attorney was like, that didn't take us that long. And I was like, are you kidding me? This seemed like eternity. And at that point I was like, I'm just going to use a property manager. This is not, and then, what did I have? I had a pipe break at like 10 o'clock at night, and it was like down there cleaning carpets and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, yeah, you should just hire unless you really, really want to like, I don't know, view it as a weird hobby that you go do all the time at odd hours.
That's the thing, is that you really are signing yourself up for another job. So that's another thing that I always make people aware of, is like, yeah, you can do this and this is a great way to build wealth, but it isn't a get rich quick scheme.
No.
And it's also a ton of work and time.
Yeah, and that's the part I think people when I'm talking to them, like, you know that like this isn't, if the landlord's getting $1,600 a month, his payment's like $1,200 or $1,300 a month. Like, you're only getting $300 a month, but in 30 years, it's the where you're getting paid out. Or
Absolutely.
It was interesting. I had a client once, and it just really dawned on me, or just rung true to me. He bought his first home. He moved out. He made it a rental. That was his only rental he ever owned.
Awesome.
He got paid off because he bought it in 1982. Last year, he sold it so that he could buy a condo when he retired and move away. And I was like, everyone could manage one.
Yeah.
Or hire a property manager, manage one. And then you take that little bit you make and invest it. And now, I bet that turned into $1 million for him. Plus, to be 65, sell this, buy a condo where you really want to live with it. And now he's got a little vacation condo. I was like, people should,
Yeah, and then you got
buy one.
You got the tax write-offs and the other benefits as well, the depreciation.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good opportunity for someone.